Many of you are probably interested, and so I will go now before we go to the PowerPoint, in our recommendations. Our recommendations are fairly predictable given what I have just outlined. And they include the elimination and dismantling of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. The Wisconsin Elections Commission, unfortunately, at best, is hopelessly incompetent. And we have a predecessor to it, the Government Accountability Board, which was dismantled by the legislature in 2015, at the end of the year in 2015, because of the demonstrated partisan conduct of its then head, Kevin Kennedy. The mechanisms and all of the infrastructure of the disgraced and partisan Government Accountability Board remained intact, including Kevin Kennedy's former employee, Megan Wolfe, who is now the administrator of WEC, and has continued all of Mr. Kennedy's policies. They've got a biannual appropriation of over $10 million, which we will get to. And by the way, Megan Wolfe is the president of ERIC now. Zuckerberg-funded organizations have come to Wisconsin to offer protection to those who took Zuckerberg money and followed the Zuckerberg plan.
Are you gonna?
But they keep addressing over there.
They're the people
please.
too, Ms. Subek, Representative. They're the people too. So in other words, entities that are funded by Mark Zuckerberg have come to Wisconsin, and an adoring media calls it a non-partisan effort, when in fact it is the same partisans. David Becker, once again, with his Zuckerberg money, and now he's come to offer the legal protection to anyone who's committed crimes, or maybe a person of interest who could help us uncover activities that were improper. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. But somehow, that rule does not apply when it comes to the very information concerning who is an eligible voter in this state. I believe this committee itself was told not too long ago that if it wanted that information, it had to come up with $12,500. Well, I've subpoenaed over a year's worth of that information. If the government, if the assembly had to pay that, that would be about $4.25 million. That information has already been paid for by the taxpayers. It ought to be up on the internet. There ought to be one accurate list of who the eligible voters are. Not ERIC was sold to this state as a means by which to keep our voter rolls accurate. But they have done the opposite, and they have operated in darkness and behind paywalls, and ERIC has dictated the terms of the public access to the public information, has dictated it to WEC, and WEC has acted like an employee or servant of ERIC as opposed to the manager or customer. And that has to stop. I recommend making that information accurate and making it public so that anyone who's interested, whether it's a candidate or a political party or a citizen, interested citizen, can look for him or herself. I believe that only works, though, with the second step, which is to make public and stop charging for the information about who voted. Put up the same information that's available for sale at WEC and that the taxpayers have already paid for, so that anyone who is interested can look and compare the two lists. Who is eligible to vote, who voted. There are others about standardization, but those are the big ones. Ultimately, we do note in Appendix 2 that the information we've gathered, by the way, which I note in the report, we have gathered despite the obstruction of everyone at WEC, aided and abetted by Josh Call, the current Attorney General. and by the current governor, Tony Evers, who told all the clerks to lawyer up. Not one person that we have subpoenaed for substantive information has come forward to talk with us. Rather, they have all retained law firms, expensive out-of-state law firms. We're now in the midst of 9 different lawsuits, all to try to find the answers that the people ought to have as a matter of course. So of course we're not done. With that teed up, at this point, I believe the legislature ought to take a very hard look at the option of decertification of the 2020 Wisconsin presidential election. That would not
Madam Chair.
automatically
Madam
lead,
Chair,
that would
that is
not
the
lead,
third time that the
I-
crowd,
I am
and
at-
I would ask that if it happens again, you clear the room, because this is not allowed.
Forgive us for the interruption.
no, it's my pleasure because I don't have a dog in this fight. I just want the truth. And I want our elections to be honest. And I want all of my fellow citizens to not only know and believe that the elections are honest and fairly run. We have to have an election system in Wisconsin that is not only honest in fact, but also in appearance.